Now you understand about the potential, electric potential due to a group of point charges. If there are 2, what will happen? 3, 4, 5, 6, any number. To arrange a group of charges, what is required? How can you arrange a group of point charges? We have to do work or not? That is the potential due to the group. How much work one has to do to put them in a group, right? If it is 2, suppose here is a charge Q1, here is charge Q2, both are same, then you cannot put them together without doing any work, right? Otherwise they will go away. If you are putting them in definite points or definite positions, then one has to do work, right? So how much amount of work is done in that arrangement is the work done, and that work done is nothing but the potential due to the group at any point, right? Similarly, if you are taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, any number, it will be the group of point charges, right? So to arrange them in a group, we have to spend some energy to do the work, and how much amount of work is done with respect to that point is the potential at that point due to the group, right? So you find out how much amount of work will be done if there is a group of points of any number, that I told last class. How much amount of work will be done? Because you have to find out it between any 2 first, then add them all. Total work done. Work done is a scalar quantity, just add it up. Total work is due to any pair existing within the group. That is the amount of work done. Then what is the relation with that? How much amount of work will be done? W is how much? Group of point charges. If there is a group, 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 is there, common factor. But how much it will be? You have to write a formula. Each pair, then add it up. So ultimatum is what? Each pair, then add it up to get the final. That is the work done I am asking. Yes, summation of first this half is a common factor, then sum over j equal to 1 to n, then q I, then again sum, right, j equal to 1 and j is again not equal to I till n summation, then 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 q j divided by r I j, right. That will be the total work done for a group of any number of charge n, number indicates n, this summation. So ultimately you can write it in other way also, in terms of potential, that will be nothing but equal to half sum over I equal to 1 to n, then q I, then potential due to this vector I. This is in terms of potential V, right. So these are the formulation to calculate the work done, and hence the potential, total amount of work done is the potential due to that group, or you can tell the energy stored in the system, group of point charges. Work done is the energy stored, that much amount of energy stored, and that is the potential energy, hence the potential of that group. But if it is a continuous charge distribution, uniform charge density, these are non-uniform, right. If there is a group, then that is the potential, but if they are uniformly distributed, maybe linearly, surfacially or volume wise, then there will be charge density, right. Then under that circumstance, how will you get the potential? Due to volume charge distribution, due to surface charge distribution, and due to linear charge distribution. How will you calculate? Let us say here is a volume and here is the point, and this volume is, the charge is distributed uniformly across the volume. So there will be volume charge density rho. It is not non-uniform, rather it is uniform, and hence the density, right. Total volume is V. In that volume, this much is the charge density, and with respect to this charge density, what will be the potential at any point P outside the volume? How will you get? What to do and how to do? It is summation or integration? Summation will be replaced by integration. You take a small element, for that you calculate the work done and then integrate over the whole volume, right, because it is uniform distribution. So there should be no summation, rather it is integration. Summation is there only when there is non-uniform charge distribution, like we have done for the group of point charges, which is non-uniform. But once it is uniform, you should have to think about the density, right. So, for that density you find out the potential for a small element and then extend it for the whole volume by integrating it. Integration over the whole volume will give you the amount of work done. So, how will you get that? Let us say you take a small volume here of del tau or d tau. Due to this d tau amount of charge, how much is the potential at this point you find out, right. Then integrate for the whole volume. Like that many such elements are there. If you add them all, addition is replaced by integration, because there is uniform charge distribution, right. So, first find a small element, then integrate for the whole volume. That is the work we have to do. Then how much is the amount potential at that point r? If this point is r, let us say this is r distance, or if you take position vector, then it will be vector, right. Then how much, of course, the direction is not necessary, because you are finding the potential, which is scalar quantity, right. Potential is scalar function. Then how much is the relation for that? How will you get the relation? First find for this element how much charge is there, rho into d tau is the q value, quantity of charge within that volume. Then with respect to that volume, what is the potential at p? You know the relation for getting p, potential at point p. There is a group of there is a charge, and what is the potential at that point if it is at a distance of r. How much it will be find out? How much it will be? Let us say if it is not uniform, if you will go for the non-uniformity, then how much you get the potential? How will you get the potential at this point V r is how much? In general it will be 1 by 4 by epsilon 0, then summation over I equal to 1 to any number. Let us think it is non-uniform. In that way I am telling, then converted to uniformity, q charge you will get, right. So, it will be how much then? Summation then q I divided by r I prime, right. So, now this q I you have to get out of the uniform distribution, that will be replaced by not summation, now integration, right. If it is uniform, then summation will be replaced by integration, and for that total charge, how much total amount of charge is there in the whole volume. Then how much you will get in terms of density, how much it is? It will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, then how will you integrate it? Integration over the volume, then rho r prime divided by r and d tau prime. Of course, it is d tau prime. You take this as d tau prime, elementary volume, right. So, this equation you can apply when there is such type of uniform charge distribution, or you can tell localized charge. Then, but this is for which charge distribution? Volume charge distribution, right. But the other two, linear and surface. Linear is lambda, surface is sigma. This is one volume, because density is rho, right, and elementary volume taken is d tau dash prime. Similarly, when it is lambda 1, a linear charge density and surface charge density, what will be the potential relation? What will you do? If it is surface, then what to do? Just this density will be replaced by sigma, and this tau will be replaced by s, that is all, or not. Rest things are remain as it is, right. So, if it is for surface, then 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 integration over that volume, then how much it is? Surface is sigma r prime divided by this r, then it will be what? A prime, right. When surface charge density is sigma, area is A. So, integration is over the whole surface S, but this integration is over the whole volume. Similarly, this is your V r for surface charge distribution, and if it is rho, then this is the volume charge integration, right. Similarly, for lambda, it is how much? 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0, then over length L, linear means length, then it will be how much? Lambda r prime divided by same r, then it will be what? d L prime, right, over length. So, when lambda length integration, when sigma area A, when rho, then volume tau, right. So, this is for the linear. For linear charge distribution, this is the relation. For surface charge distribution, this is the relation, and for volume charge distribution, this is the relation. These are the three. This is for volume, this is for surface, and this is for linear. Only the integration limits are different. If volume integration, if surface integration, if linear length integration, path. So, accordingly you have to change only the densities and the integration over what. If it is volume, then volume integration, if it is area, area integration, and this is the path integration, length, right. So, when there is uniform charge distribution, then only you can do by this way, but if it is a group of non-uniform points and point charges, then the other way, add them all, summation, that is summation, but here it is integration, right. So, this is about the potential due to a group of charges non-uniformly distributed. If, then it is the formula, but if it is uniformly distributed with charge densities, accordingly this is for volume, this is for surface, and this is for linear, right. And applying these relations, you can find out the solution for any problem relevant to either the case, either non-uniform distribution or uniform distribution, again is it volume or surface or length, right. Then now I told you probably what do you mean by electrostatic induction. Electrostatic induction. Electrostatic means the charges are at rest, then it is electrostatics, not in motion, right. Then what that induction means? Induction basically tells it is a process by which a body can be charged, right. Many methods are there, but you can charge a body by the process called as induction also, right. So, induction means the charge will be induced, then how it will be induced? In presence of some other field, right. So, to get some other field there should be charge, means another charge body can induce the charge in that body which you want to induct, right. Suppose this is a body having no charge, no charge means neutral, but charges are there, total charge is, net charge is 0, right. If I will take another body near that which is positive charge, right, then what we are doing? We are going to induce the charge here. Without any charge body, no induction, but when there is a charge body near it, the process of induction starts, right. So, what will you do? If you take a positive charge body near it, then what will happen? Here you will get the all negative charges in one side and the other charges will go to the other side, right. Net charge is 0, no doubt, but they are now separated, because here is positive charge body. So, negative charge body will be attracted towards it and the positive charge body will be repelled. So, they are now separated out, but still net charge is 0, neutral, right. Net charge is again 0, just they are separated out, otherwise they will mix up like your atom. If you take the atom, it is neutral, right. So, if you take a neutral body having atoms, that is an element, then take a positive charge body near it, then what will happen? In presence of this charge body, the field is there and that field will induct all the atoms present there, right. So, by that induction what will happen there? Induction means it is giving some energy, by that energy they will break up to ions and electrons. Electron will come this side, ions will go to the other side, right. So, obviously the positive and negative charges are now separated. The same amount of negative charge is this side, same positive charge is on the other side. If an atom is ionized, means what? Suppose this is an atom, it is positive charge and here is the electron. By influence of the field due to this charge body, what will happen? It will ionize. Ionize means the electron will go away, right. When it is going away, it is leaving a positive ion, right. So, this is positive ion and here is a electron and here is a body which is positively charged, then how they will arrange? The negative charge will come closer because of attraction and positive charge will go away because of repulsion. That is why they are coming to two ends of that object, and that is called as now induction process starts, right. By keeping a charge body near any neutral body, induction process starts. That means the two charges, different kind of charges get separated out, right. So, when they are now separated, if you want to get this body positively charged, then what to do? Negatively charged, then you are bringing a positive charge body, right. So, that the positive charge will come to this side and negative charge will be come to the other side. So, the more attractive force is there with the negative charge and repulsive force is there with the positive side, right. Then if I will connect it to earth, then what will you do? Earthing is an infinite potential. Once it is connected with earth, then this charge will flow, right. Which charge will flow? Which is loosely bound, that is the positive charge. With this body which is loosely bound, positive charges. So, when you are connecting with earth, ultimately what will happen? This positive charge will flow to earth, right, because of infinite potential of the earth. It has infinite potential both for positive as well as negative charges. It can take either positive or negative, whatever is connected it will take it out, right. So, when it is connected with the positive side, then automatically it indicates that the positive charge will flow to the earth, right. So, when it is flowing to the earth, it will leave only negative charge, all positive charge are flowing to earth, right. Now you take this body away, take that body away, then what will happen? This charge will uniformly distributed over the body. Now it is getting negatively charged and it is by induction, right, that is by induction. So, electrostatic induction means you can charge any body either positively or negatively. If I want to make this body positive charge, you take a negative charge body nearby. If you take negative, here is positive charge, here is negative charge, then earth it, negative charge will go away and positive charge will be distributed when this body is taken away, right. By that way you can induce any charge, either positive charge or negative charge, by putting another charge body as per your requirement. You need positive charge body or negative charge body, right. If you need negative charge body, bring a positive charge body, then do the same thing. If you need positive charge body, then take a negative charge body here, right. If you want negative charge body, then you are putting a positive charge body, but if you want a positive charge body, then just take a negative charge body, just reverse, the body should be reversed, then you can do induction, either it is positive or negative, that depends on you what kind of charge you should induce, right, whether you are going to induce positive charge or negative charge, but the process is called as induction, right, because this charge arrangement is because of induction. If this body is not there, they can never arrange in that way, right, that is by induction. So, induction means the charges get induced in the influence of another charge body, or you can tell field. One charge body is there, field is there, and that field is influencing the charges to be separated out, right. Field is there means energy is there, and that energy is sufficient to separate it out, negative and positive charges. So, if it is not there, no field, no force, no action, but when there is a charge body, field is there, energy is there, and that energy is separating out the charges, and that is by induction. That process is called as the induction process. So, now as per the requirement, you can either induce a body positively or negatively, whatever you like, right. So, a neutral body can be charged as per your requirement now, may it be positively charged or negatively charged, right. That process is called as induction, or you can tell it is electrostatic, because you see here the charge is at rest, here also charge is at rest, both are at rest, that is why electrostatic, there is no motion of the charge, charge body is at rest, but still the charges gets induced, right. So, in that way you can charge any body by induction and any type, either it will be positive type or negative type. Otherwise, in general any body is all the time neutral, right, any body all the time is neutral. And then now tell what is the difference between this conductor and insulator, whether I am telling this for conducting body or insulating body or any body. You know about the conductor, right, what that conductor means, when you will tell it is a conductor, electrical conductor, not thermal. When you will tell a body is electrically conducted, how can you tell a body or a material or a system is electrically conductor? All bodies are not conductors, you know it, some are conductors, some are insulators, some are semiconductor, then how can you distinguish them from each other? One method is your band gap, but that band gap comes from where? How that band gap comes? The origin of band gap is what? From where that band gap creates? If there is a wide band gap, you are telling it is insulator, right. If there is no band gap, it is conductor, in between conduction band and the valence band, right. But if it is in between, then it is semiconductor, but from where they are originated? You know about the band or not? What is valence band and what is conduction band? What are they? What do you mean by a valence band and conduction band? From where they are created? How they are created? When you will tell it is a valence band and that is a conduction band. Band means what? Band, yes, it is a group of energy levels, not like atoms. Atom is having only one energy level, right. If you take any atom, this atom has only one type of energy levels, right. Like for example, if this is an atom, then what are these levels? They are energy levels designated as K, L, M, N, whatever it may be, right. They are single or multiple. Suppose this is K, then this is L. Cells, you are telling it is the cell, K cell, L cell, M cell, and so on, right. So, whether these cells are having single energy or multiple energy, may it be K, L, M, N, whatever it may be, whether they are single level or multiple level, multiple level, then why and from where it comes? Presence of, yes, every cell has subcells that you know, S, P, D, F. On that basis you can arrange them, which cell is having how many subcells. So, subcells are again different energy levels, right. If it is K, but in S subcell its energy level is different than D, right. So, ultimately each subcell is having each cell is having some subcells, that you know, right. So, obviously each subcell is having the energy levels. So, therefore, each cell is having a band of energy, right. Each cell of the atom is having a band of energy levels, right. The band itself is created from atomic level, right. The reason is because there are subcells. Each cell is divided into subcells. Cell is one energy level, but when you consider the subcells, it is a group of energy levels, and that is a band, right. That is a band, but provided you have to see whether it has a single. So, for example, if you take the K cell, what is the value of S, P, D, F for K cell? For K cell, all are possible or only one, then there is no subcell. So, it is single energy level, right. It is single energy level, it is not multiple, but when you go for L, like that, right. So, some are single, but some all are not single. If it is more than one, it is a band, right. Band means group of energy levels. It is one, no band, more than one, band, right. So, if it is a atom, then obviously here also you are getting the band, but that band is different what I am telling valence band and the conduction band. Here is also band, right. When subcell, band, no subcell, no band. So, even for an atom also there are bands, right. So, now think, let us say I will take some compound like calcium carbonate, right, and if I will tell gold, what is the difference between these two? One is gold, other is calcium carbonate. There are no doubt there are two systems, but one is element, other is compound, right. So, it will give you atomic spectra, it will give you molecular spectra, right. If you go for spectral analysis, then this gold will give you atomic spectra, because it is because of an atom, but when you go for this calcium carbonate, it is not an atom, it is a group of atoms, molecule. So, the spectra there is called as molecular spectra. There is a difference between atomic spectra and molecular spectra. So, in a molecule, no doubt many kinds of atoms are involved, right. If it is a molecule or compound, many atoms are involved here, but here in element only one kind, right. In element one kind of atoms, but if it is compound, then many kinds of atoms. So, many kinds of atom means molecular spectra, one kind of atom means atomic spectra, right. If you want to know the levels, energy levels, then spectra will give you the idea whether it is molecular spectra or it is atomic spectra, right. There are various kinds of spectra that you know, right. The hydrogen spectra is what type? Atomic or molecular? The whole series there in hydrogen spectra is due to atomic spectra or molecular spectra. You know about it, hydrogen spectra, molecular, why? But same atom or different atom, then why molecule? If same atoms, then why molecule? You can tell hydrogen molecule, but of same hydrogen atoms. There are two atoms of hydrogen, but both are same kind, right. But here calcium carbonate, not same kind, different kind of atoms, calcium, carbon, oxygen, right. So, if it is similar atoms, atomic, dissimilar atoms, molecular, right. So, when you take the hydrogen spectra, it is because of hydrogen only, no other atoms are involved there, only hydrogen, right. So, it is not molecular, rather it is atomic. But when you tell other kinds of spectra, like you might have heard about this spectra, Raman spectra, you heard? Raman spectra, what is that? Raman spectra is an atomic spectra or molecular spectra? Molecular spectra, right. It will give you idea about the molecules. So, you have to see this Raman spectra will basically tell how the molecules are arranged within a material, then you have to go for Raman spectra, right. And similarly, there are other kinds of spectra called as UV, IR, various kinds of spectra are there, right. So, what UV spectra will give idea? What about UV spectra? UV means the radiations comes out is in UV range, right. Similarly, if it is IR range, IR spectra, but ultimately it comes from material, right. That spectra is originated from the material which has to be characterized. So, you will know everything what is there inside, from where it comes. May it be Raman, may it be UV, may it be IR, may it be X-ray, whatever it may be. It will give you the idea what is there inside the system or material. That is why people going for spectroscopy, right. Why spectroscopy? It will give you the idea what kind of elements are involved and how they are involved in the material, right. So, if you think about UV, then what information you will get out of UV spectra? Raman is molecular, hydrogen is atomic, but when you tell UV and IR, it is both. It may be atom, may be molecule. There is no restriction, right. Atomic UV is different, molecular UV is different. Atomic IR is different, molecular IR is different, right. So, when you are telling it is UV and IR, basically this UV gives what kind of idea and IR gives what kind of idea. Atomic spectra is very easy to analyze because only one kinds of atoms are present, right. But when it is molecular spectra, quite critical, right. People are analyzing it, but quite critical. They should have to understand many things. Then if you are telling it is UV and IR, let us say you take any material and go for UV spectra or IR spectra, ultimately sometimes done it as FTIR. You heard about it? FTIR. IR is there, but FTIR. FT means Fourier transform, FT, but ultimately it is IR, right. Instead of doing IR, people are interested to go for FTIR, Fourier transform, right. Why? If you will go for Fourier transform, what extra advantage is there which is not there in IR? When you are telling a spectra, basically it is, what is the spectra? Graph, what versus what? This is intensity, may it be transmission or absorption, both. If it is absorption, absorption spectra, if it is transmission, transmission spectra, but ultimately it is intensity, right. Then here you are taking what? Frequency or wave number, right. Either frequency or wave number, not wavelength. Spectra is never referred to wavelength, wave number or frequency, right. So, when you are telling it is frequency or wave number, in what space you are? Real space or reciprocal space? This is real space. We are sitting here in real space or reciprocal space? Real space, right. But when you are telling it is frequency, is it real space or reciprocal space? Reciprocal space, because the length is measured in the unit of length inverse, 1 by lambda. Frequency is such kind, C by lambda, right. C is a constant, lambda is a length, but reciprocal of length means length inverse. Frequency is in terms of length inverse, right. So, when it is length inverse, it is never in real space, all the time in reciprocal space, right. So, when it is going to reciprocal space like intensity, if you go for the scattering and diffraction experiments, the intensities are never in real space, all the time going to reciprocal space, either it may be diffraction or it may be scattering, right. But that intensity carries information about the material. That is why it is critical to analyze. You are not in real space I can see who is there, where is there, because it is real information, right. But when you go for the reciprocal space, it is indirect analysis. Data is there, information is there in some other space, but you have to bring them back to the real space to real analysis, and that is usually done by Fourier inverse transformation. Mathematically you can tell it is the Fourier inverse transformation, right. Otherwise you can never get real information from the intensity data, whether it may be scattering or diffraction or spectroscopy, whatever it may be. Once it is there in reciprocal space, it is difficult to analyze the data because that is not the real data, real space data, right. And that is the major difference between, you know about the image and intensity. What is image and what is intensity? Anybody have idea? What do you mean by an image and what is an intensity? Whether image is relevant to intensity or not, then intensity of the image are same or different. I am not telling scattering, diffraction, any intensity, any image in general, which are related. Then what is the difference? Then why not you tell image as intensity or intensity as image? Can you tell? Cannot. You cannot tell. Then how they are similar? If you cannot tell intensity the image and image is the intensity, then there should be some difference. They cannot be same. So what is the difference then? When you just telling, suppose for example here is an object and you are using visible radiation, right? Visible, this light, visible radiation. Are you getting intensity or image there? Here is a source, here is an object, and this is visible light. Then in this side, what you will get? Is it intensity or image or both? Lunar eclipse as an example of intensity or image? Solar eclipse, lunar eclipse, same thing happens here or not? If you take a source, put an object before it, you will get this side shadows, right. So, what those shadows are? Image or intensities. Shadow is of course again having penumbra and umbra. Central part is penumbra, umbra, outside is penumbra. Every image has that, right. But what that shadow is it image or intensity? Intensity. Achha, then now tell, when you are telling it is a spectra, then it goes like that, like that. Is it an image or intensity? If that is the image, sorry, intensity you are telling, or image, shadow is intensity, then what is this? Spectra. Similarly, if you go for XRD, you are getting such type of peaks, right. This is 2 theta versus intensity. So, this is image or intensity? Image. Then what is the difference? You could not distinguish between image and intensity. They are not same, right. They are not same. Of course, image is relevant with intensity, but not all the time, because there is, without intensity there is no shadow, no image. If I put an object and here is the source, no doubt the intensity this side is 0 at the central part, right. Intensity is 0 and around it little bit there, which is penumbra. In case of shadow, it is 2 parts, umbra and penumbra. Central part no intensity, outside part having some intensity, very weak, but both are images, they are not intensities, because it is a real information collected by our eye, retina. Image is formed in retina, then you know that there is an image, it is real information, right. But think about this XRD pattern spectra, what are they? Can you have any real information about the material that is analyzed? No, never, right. But they are intensities, they are intensities, right. These are not images, but they are intensities, but they carry also information about the material or not? They also carry the information about the material, right. So, then this is intensity or image? Intensity, and in shadow it is image, right. If it is real information collected by our eye, it is image, right. But if not real information collected by our eye, then it is intensity. And that is the reason why when we are telling diffraction and scattering, it is never image, all the time intensity, all the time it is intensity, right. So, but that intensity carries information about the material that you are interested for, right. You are interested to know the material, what kind of structure, what kind of phases, everything, but you are collecting the information not by image, rather by intensity, and that intensity carries all the informations that you know, right. So, intensity, knowing the intensity is a direct measurement of internals of the material or indirect? Indirect, never direct, right. You are collecting information, but not directly, but indirectly. But in case of image, it is direct information. That is why I am telling you know about the images that you are collecting in SEM and TEM, you know about it? SEM and TEM, scanning electron microscopy and transmission electron microscopy, right. They are images or intensities? They are images, right. Whatever arrangement may be done inside, but you are getting the real information about the system, what is there inside in a bigger scale, right. So, in microscopy all the time you will get image, magnified image, right. It may be an optical microscope that you are using in the laboratories or SEM or TEM, all the time they are giving only images, right, because that is the real information, you can see and tell what is there inside, right. If inside, better is TEM, if surface, SEM, but it gives the real information, what is there on the surface and what is there inside, because it is microscopy. Microscopy all the time refers to image, never intensity, right, never intensity, all the time it is image, right. So, if you are taking some radiation and taking an object which is not allowing that radiation, then what you will get there, intensity or image? This object is not allowing that radiation. For example, if I will take a thin metal of iron, thin sheet of about let us say 1 mm thickness of iron, right. I will take a visible light source this side. If you go to the other side, what will you get? You go to the other side. What is that? Source is this side, you are going to the other side. You will get intensity or image? Image. And moreover, very important is that image is all the time formed due to superposition of reflected or transmitted rays, right. Refracted means transmitted or reflected. If they really superimpose, that is real image, that you know, right. If they really intersect, then that will be a real image point. You know about the object distance, image distance, object, image, real image, virtual image, all those things are coming in that way. If it is real image, then the reflected or refracted ray must have to intersect there, that is why it is a real image. But if it is not real, virtual, right. If they are not really intersecting, but it appears to come from that, then it is virtual image. You are getting both the image that formed by the plane mirror is real or virtual. The image that formed by the plane mirror is real image or virtual image? Virtual. You know the reason why? Because really the rays never intersect, right. But still you are appearing the image, and that image is virtual image. But if you take a lens and allow parallel light, then it will focus at a point. That point is real or virtual? Real. And similarly, all real images come that way. If they really intersect after refraction or reflection, it is real image. But if not, then virtual image, right. So similarly, when I take a piece of iron, a very thin sheet, 1 mm of iron, and allow this light to go through it, then what will you get? Is it image or intensity? Thin sheet of iron, thickness is 1 mm, right. Here is a source, visible light source. Then this side, what will you get? Shadow or not? You will get shadow. That shadow is real or virtual? Huh? Virtual, why? Why virtual? Huh? Real, because all the radiations are being absorbed by the piece of iron. So no radiation comes to the side. That is real information. Shadow is real, not virtual, because all the radiations are being absorbed by that iron piece. No radiation comes to the other side. That is why it is never virtual, rather it is real. We are getting real image and we are realizing that yes, there will be an image, shadow, right. But think, I will replace this visible light source by X-ray, then same piece of iron, but the source is now X-ray source. Then what will you get there? Then intensity by diffraction phenomena, right. So you can collect the information from XRD, but never real information. You have to analyze the intensity to get the information. That is the difference between intensity and image, right. XRD is never in real space, all the time in reciprocal space. So the informations are there in reciprocal space. In order to understand about the system, you have to come back to the real space, otherwise you cannot. Therefore, intensity analysis is a very tedious task. Unless you have the expertise, you can never analyze properly either a diffraction pattern or a scattering pattern, but that carries the real information. The intensity only carries the real information, but how to analyze it? Unless you know, you can never analyze it, right. So looking to the XRD pattern, you can never tell what kind of material it is, what kind of phases are there in the material, and how the atoms are arranged. All those things can be indirectly extracted from XRD pattern, not directly, right, indirect. And that is the reason why if you ask anybody, tell me what is there inside, instead of going for XRD, the most important experiment to do with, people are liking to go for SEM or TEM. Why? They can directly see. This is tedious task. They could not understand what is there, what is that intensity, how it comes and why it comes. To avoid that, better to go for SEM and TEM. But if you go for the research level, TEM and SEM never gave statistical average good parameters like scattering and diffraction. It is all the time SEM and TEM are all the time inferior than scattering and diffraction experiments, all the time, so far as statistical average of structure is concerned, and we look for that in research, right. So, therefore, it is easy, directly visualize, people run after it, but this is difficult, but to get the real information. Little bit difficult, no doubt, but you will get the real information at research level, not at your level I am telling, at research level. So, people are avoiding to go for that, to learn about XRD, to learn about scattering, because it is not that easy like your SEM or TEM. It is very easy to learn, you will directly visualize the image what is there inside, but taking intensity data, analyzing it to get the real structure inside is a very tough job. That is why difficult is with scattering and diffraction, but real information at research level, right. So, then now you know the difference image and intensity, and what is the importance of both. Sometimes intensity helps us, sometimes image helps us. You cannot tell that only intensity will help all the time, or cannot intensity will help you all the time. That depends on the situation, what kind of situation you are facing, right. So, but you will get the information in that way. So, anyway, that you know about the potential now. Next we will go for the capacity, that is relevant with the charge and potential.